My name is Kwabena Chencheni, but many thanks for joining us here on Newsdays. Let's start off with that story that made quite a number of people, it got quite a number of people talking last night up until this morning. It has to do with the Supreme Court's ordering the Electoral Commission to furnish it with the full list of persons who registered with the National Health Insurance Scheme card as a form of identification in 6 days. Now, the order follows the return of former PNC youth organizer Abu Ramadan to court to seek clarity on the Apex Court's May 5, 2016 judgment regarding the removal of qualified persons on the voters' register.
Different interpretations had been put to the Supreme Court ruling, especially regarding the deletion of NHIS registrants, with the Electoral Commission adopting a stance very much at odds with the understanding given to the ruling by the plaintiffs. Not even the unconventional attempt to interpret the ruling by one of the justices who presided over the case, Justice Jones Duche, would rest the debate.
I don't want to interpret the judgment, but as you claim you heard it, the Supreme Court was quite forthright and clear that the use of the NHIS cards is unconstitutional because the criteria for the NHIS card was not based on Ghanaian citizenship, but only on residence in Ghana. So any foreigner who is resident in Ghana for 6 months and more can register under the NHIS cards. That was the basis upon our decision in 2014. And the recent one, we said the use of the NHIS cards is therefore unconstitutional. They should take the opportunity to clean the register of those undesirable persons. Therefore, we also did not want to disenfranchise anybody. So the Supreme Court went on to say anybody who will be affected by that exercise must be given the opportunity to register according to the law and the Constitution. The period. That's it.
And the EC is saying that that's not the direct the instruction from
as I said, I don't want to interpret the judgment. If anybody is aggrieved, then they should come back to the court.
The 5-member panel who sat on the case on Thursday is, however, hopeful the step it has taken will bring closure to the matter. The Electoral Commission was also ordered to provide the court with a detailed plan on how they were going to carry out the deletion and re-registration of the people who registered with the NHIS cards, and warned it will not allow the Commission to plunge the country into chaos. The visibly unhappy panel of justices presided over by the Chief Justice, Georgina Theodora Wood, indicated its displeasure over what it termed the lackadaisical attitude of the EC in complying with its orders in the Abu Ramadan suit. The EC, which appears to have understood the ruling of the Supreme Court differently on the deletion of NHIS card registrants, had said the names would be deleted using existing procedures.
Well, I'll be bringing you more on that. We are trying to establish contact with Albert Ahin of Kodeo on this very issue, as well as Nana Santibedi, who happens to be lawyer. Okay, in fact, let's go on to the phone lines now and speak to Albert Ahin, who is with Kodeo, and he's joining us on phone one with some thoughts on this very issue. Mr. Ahin, good morning. Many thanks for joining us here on Newsday, sir. Okay, we are still working the lines to try and see whether we can establish contact with Albert Kofi Ahin, who is a national coordinator of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, on this very directive, because some time back we did hear the Electoral Commission say that it would be practically impossible for them to go back to the archives and get that very details. I'm speaking of details of persons who actually registered onto the electoral roll with their national identification cards. Let's now get the thoughts of Kodeo on this. And like I said, National Coordinator for the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, Albert Ahin, is joining us now on phone. Mr. Ahin, good morning and many thanks for joining us here on Newsday, sir. Mr. Ahin, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Yeah, thank you too. And,
there was this ruling that got quite a number of people confused. Now, Nana Santibedi and his clients returned to court, and this is the directive being given by the court. I mean, was this expected in the first place?
Hello?
Albertine?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's very difficult hearing you. Can you call me on my 020?
Okay. I think we're having a bit of a challenge with our lines there. We'll try and work on it and bring back that interview to you. But away from that now, let's talk about President John Dramani Mahama, who has for the second time in as many days responded to allegations he may have been corrupted by his acceptance of a Ford vehicle from a Burkinabe contractor. And the latest reaction at a meeting with the clergy at the Flagstaff House on Thursday comes barely 24 hours after he had dismissed the allegations as baseless and politically motivated. Now, there have already been some issues that have been filed asking the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice to investigate the president for accepting the vehicle because the petitioners believe it contravenes the 1992 Constitution. The opposition New Patriotic Party has also directed its members of parliament to begin processes to cause a bipartisan probe into the matter. But the president says he's never been a fan of American vehicles and that he rather prefers Japanese cars.
Recently, there's the issue of a Ford Expedition. I've never been under the illusion that that vehicle was a gift to the state, and it's never been used for my personal comfort. In any case, I don't use Ford. I don't like American cars. I use Japanese cars. Toyota is my car. It's a matter for the Commission on Human Rights. I hear there's a petition there who appropriately will respond to it.
So that was the President John Dramani Mahama addressing the clergy. They would hold on to that very story now because there's a bit more on that. We do know that yesterday the Progressive People's Party also filed an official petition over this same issue. We'll be delving into that also in a bit. But let's return to our previous story of the Supreme Court giving the Electoral Commission a 1-week ultimatum to furnish it with details of all persons who got themselves onto the electoral roll via the national identification card. Joining me now on phone, I hope on a better line now, is Albert Kofi Ahin, who is with the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. Is indeed their national coordinator. Mr. Ahin, good morning, and I hope you can hear me now, sir.
Yes, you are very clear now.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, essentially, I was just speaking of the fact that that very interpretation or that judgment by the Supreme Court some time back got a number of people confused. I mean, even though some suggested it was very straightforward, others thought it was a bit ambiguous. In fact, the EC saw it to be one that did not necessarily compel it to delete names of persons who registered onto the roll with NHIS cards. Now, the Supreme Court is saying something different after Mr. Santibedi Eto'o and Abu Ramadan went back to court. I mean, was this expected?
Yes, if you had been listening to a lot of people, especially Kodeo, for example, was always saying that there was a need for the commission to come out with a roadmap to talk about the way this register was going to be cleaned. You know, who have been drumming and talking about this thing for a very long time. And we in Kodeo are happy that at least there's this rule of law thing that has come to stay, or it's been established firmly. It really is going to strengthen our democracy when we have the rule of law working. The Supreme Court is the Supreme Court of the land, and they have come out to say and giving out the orders or instructions as to how best this thing ought to be done. So I think it's better for the commission to go strictly according to what they've asked them to do. The only problem that we see is this thing about the timetable, whether these orders, if they are going to be, strictly adhered to, will allow the commission to go about the timetable as they have planned. Because one, they are going to get the names within 1 week, and then I'm sure after that, if everything is in order, they will be asked to go and register the people whose names have been selected.
Is that to suggest that these names are going to be expunged immediately, of course, until maybe these persons come with other identification apart from the National Identification Authority?
That's right. The names will be expunged in the first place.
Okay.
And then, in order not to disenfranchise them, they are saying that they ought to be registered because it was through no fault of theirs. You see, so registration is going to be done, and then an exhibition is going to be done. All this is going to delay the process. But even one thing that I fear, and something that I have been hearing from the grapevine, is the fact that it's not all the districts or the constituencies who have their list that they are supposed to be going through to select. You see, some of them, I'm sure, have either been bent, or they've been thrown away, or destroyed, or something. You see, so this thing is dicey. I don't know. Maybe the grapevine might be wrong. What is coming from the grapevine might be wrong. But people are saying that the information is not there. The information is not there. In the first place, it is not even in the database. It is not in the database because it was not a scannable form, or at that time the information was not on a scannable form. So it means that the EC didn't capture it onto the database. So this is going to be a manual thing, if it is even there. So, my brother, it's quite dicey.
So I mean, what is to happen in such a situation? Pretty weird, it appears, and it's a bit confusing here. So what is to happen, really?
Well, if they don't have the list, if it is not there, I think the best thing and the right thing to do is to tell the Supreme Court that we don't have the list. I'm told that when the Supreme Court sat in the petition, the time this petition was on, they were asked and they said they had the list. You see, but from the grapevine, we are hearing that the list is not there or may not even be complete.
I see.
And why we are saying this is that, this form is not the one that was scanned. If you scan it, you get it straight away into the database. But the information was not provided on the form. So if it was not provided on the form, it means it was not captured.
Okay.
And also, we know that for most of the time when elections are conducted, and the materials that are used, after 1 year when there are no problems, they are all destroyed. You see, so if it happens to be in that category of forms that have been bent or destroyed, then where will they get the information? But here, I will not conjecture to say anything here. It's the commission that is supposed to be doing this, and they will have to come out and see whether they have it or they don't have it.
All right.
It would be better if they should come out to say they don't have it.
Mr. Ayin, I'm trying to work with the hypothesis here. So, assuming without admitting that they go to the courts and say, yes, maybe we have it, but we do not have the complete list. What may happen? Would the Supreme Court probably still direct them to expunge these names, in which case some people might be left off the hook? Should I put it that way?
And that is why I said it is dicey.
I see.
And messy at the same time. How would the Supreme Court interpret this if they say that they have some and they don't have some? You see, so maybe we need to wait for us to get to that bridge before we can cross it, because I cannot speak for the Supreme Court here. If they should go and say that, okay, we have some of the list, others we don't have, then that one I will leave to the Supreme Court, because it will be a very dicey issue.
Right. Okay. Albert Ahin, many thanks for your time here on News Desk this morning. Albert Ahin is with the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. Indeed, he is their national coordinator. He joined us on phone with some thoughts on that issue. But away from that now, let's talk.